the Bowels of Netflix, where your fearless co-hosts Isaac and Larry force each other to watch the worst pieces of shit on Netflix. We will go over every bad edit, all the broken dialogue, all the wooden acting, and laugh along the way, because this is the Bowels of Netflix! Alright, welcome to the Bowels of Netflix. I'm Isaac, and with me, as always, is my fearless co-host, Larry. How are you doing this week, Larry?
Okay, I have three questions. First of all, have you ever heard of, or do you think this exists, a play, like a smorgasbord, like a buffet, called Noah's Ark?
Well, some of those animals are edible.
Well, no, but I mean, just, it doesn't have to, we don't have to fucking sell giraffe there. I'm just saying, like, is that a thing you have seen, or you think exists?
A buffet called Noah's Ark?
Yeah.
I've not seen it.
Okay.
I'm Arkansas. I would bet Arkansas.
2, do you think Christians would want to eat there or not want to eat there?
I feel like they would eat the surplus animals, so I'll go with yes.
Okay.
They'll eat there.
3, do you want to go into business together?
Yes.
I had this thought while walking the dog today, and I'm like, I think it's either the most brilliant idea human beings ever had, or I'm a complete moron. I'm not sure.
Would it be an exotic meat emporium?
I don't think it has to be. I think
I feel like
you just make a bog standard, like 6 out of 10 buffet. You know, you put 2 steps above an old country buffet, and you just call it Noah's Ark.
I feel like you have to have an exotic meat corner.
I mean, look, this podcast has dabbled in the worlds of exotic meats before, and I will do so again if called upon.
Exotic meat corner is the name of my sex tape.
Yuck. I don't want to watch that.
Yeah, no, that sounds pretty like a lot of... What's, Dick Bouquet? Yeah.
I have known you for, I want to say, 14 years. And I think once a year I hear about a fucking dick bouquet somehow.
It was one of my early findings on the internet.
God.
I was like, Mom, what is this? She was like, well, honey, that's a dick bouquet.
Jesus Christ.
Speaking of dick bouquets, did you or did you not receive a hot dog in the mail?
I did not.
God damn it. Well, they didn't give it back, but I mailed it.
I believe that you mailed it, but no, I didn't receive a hot dog. There was not a greasy stain on the door or on the floor either, so it just never showed up. Nope. That's
disappointing. You have a foyer that your dog can't get into, so he can just eat it.
No, definitely. The foyer has to be closed, or he would escape.
That is disappointing.
Yeah, so, unfortunately, the saga ends there.
Oh, we'll have to mail you another hot dog. Anyway, we are the Bowels of Netflix.
This time, mail it, and then on the back in big letters, mailman, do not eat.
Stop eating my hot dog, mailman. We are the Bowels of Netflix. We're a podcast where us two miserable old friends who hate each other force each other every week to watch terrible movies on Netflix and then describe them back in excruciating detail. You can find us on the internet. We live on Facebook. We live on Twitter. Just search Bowels of Netflix. You'll definitely find us. Make sure to email us, bowelsandnetflix@gmail.com. If you have any experience with any of these movies, you might have seen them yourself, gotten a sad hand job to one of them. Or if you have any suggestions for movies that are absolutely terrible on Netflix, then we could subject each other to them, and that would be definitely a lot of fun. Or if you just hate us and think we're horrible people and want to send us death threats, you could do that too. Yeah. And this week is Larry's turn. He's watched a movie. I feel like I couldn't find a real stinker, so I feel bad. I might. Oh, I did?
Don't take my cherub-like joy in finding a new business opportunity earlier as anything good. I'm furious. I'm fucking livid. This movie was a fucking nightmare.
Now, what is the title of your movie?
It's called Sunrise in Heaven, but we'll actually get to that. We have a disparity about that a little later on, but we'll get there.
Oh, is the movie set in hell?
No. Well, I mean, technically.
Your life is set in hell now.
Well, that's not new.
Before we get too far into your review, I want to let the listeners in on a little bit of your headspace while you were digesting this movie. because at 2:19 a.m. a few days ago, I got a string of the most horrifying text I've ever received, which is definitely Larry in the depths of hell watching this.
So I couldn't sleep, and I hadn't watched the movie yet, and I decided I'm going to watch this now. This is a great idea. It was not.
When did you actually end up going to bed? Or have you just not slept
when was the
in
last
48
text?
hours?
What time was the last text I sent you?
Hold on. 3 a.m.
At 3:30 a.m.
Jeez. You poor man. So, strap in, buckle up. If you have children in the car, tell them to go fuck themselves and cover their ears.
I did not remember these until the next... I remembered sending them, but I didn't remember what they said until the next morning when I read your response.
And Larry's a teetotaler.
Yes.
I'm saying you're in the third person. I feel like I'm trying to let the audience in.
No,
but no,
right.
yeah, you weren't in a drunken stupor.
No, not at all.
Stone cold sober, just blacked out with rage.
Pretty much.
This movie is, and I'm going to try to say it with all of your angry gorilla finger errors.
Great.
This movie is unreliable, you rotten piece of dung heap. May the skulls of your loved ones be liked at my feet before I'm dead.
God damn it.
May your soul scream in agony for making me wrangle this. May your face feel the slap of 1,000 dicks. May your feet feel the cum of 1,000 men. You whoremongering, ball-licking, pile of pus and flesh and seed of man and pile of shit and balls and black tar heroin and soft cheese filtered through an old woman's used pantyhose drilled into the anus of a circus elephant's prodigal son. May your sons be born Chinese. May they hate you eternally for being a milkweed sop made of white, weak man flesh. You absolute, unbridled, rotten teeth, sausage-eating, pederasty-loving FOP. Fop. I hate you. I shall bring ruin upon your earthly works. No one is safe from Maximus, motherfucker. I'll see you in your dreams. Is there an elephant in this movie?
No.
Okay, I was really confused for a minute.
No. I was just calling myself Maximus, I think.
And the line, may your sons be born Chinese, is extra perfect and cruel for me, because my cousin, who's basically counts as my sister, her husband is Chinese, who's also been very good friends with my wife since they were in grade school. So if my sons were born Chinese, that would be a problem.
I was not intending it to be racist. More just that they would hate you because you were white. Not implying that your wife was going to cheat on you.
She deserves to. She deserves better.
Well, I'm definitely not going to deny that.
Oh, but she can't, you know.
I don't. Does that need a follow up, or is that sufficient?
No, she just can't. She can't leave me.
Physically, yeah, or mentally, or mostly physically.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of stairs to crawl up when you don't really have functional limbs. So, there's that. Anyway, the heaven, barely sunrise, lethal, what is this?
Sunrise in heaven.
Sunrise, okay.
You know, my favorite.
It sounds like a Bruce Lee porno.
My favorite bit in this show is trying to figure out if you just have the world's worst memory or are just the funniest man on the planet. I think it's both.
I'm getting old. I'm pushing 40 now, so I'm not really remembering things very well.
You're not pushing 40.
Pushing 40.
32.
I'm saying I'm pushing 40, so I can say I'm pushing 40 for a really long time. And then eventually I'll be 40, and then I'll have to drive off a cliff.
Fuck. I'm pushing 30, man. I'm 30 this year. I'm sure I say it every episode because it consumes my every thought. I mean, I'm fine. I'm great. Everything's awesome.
Enjoy it while it lasts, young whippersnapper.
Go fuck yourself.
Okay, so sunrise in bacon.
Sunrise in heaven. Man. Oh, God. It's not a bad one. Believe it or not, I'm a little upset if the text didn't throw that in there. So, Sunrise in Heaven, we look at Rotten Tomatoes. No tomato meter, because no fucking critic in their right mind saw this. 50% audience score, which I have a follow-up for that. So dead center of the line is 16 user ratings, which I think represents probably... That 16 people represents probably 45% of the people who saw this movie.
Probably.
So, I didn't look at the IMDb to kind of think of it, but I
wonder if it even has one.
For some reason, I fell down a rabbit hole with looking up stuff for this movie. It does have.
Oh no.
The IMDb score is 6.4 out of 10 with 1,048.
A lot of devout watchers.
Now, what's interesting is that is the score for Sunrise in Heaven. We also have a movie called Forever Love, which is the same movie.
What?
Yeah, I don't quite get it. So if you look up, go to pull over your car. Pull out your
car.
I'm talking to our listeners now. You touch your computer. I'm sure if you touch it in any way, it's going to stop working. You fucking dunce.
I'll break it. Shit.
So IMDb has Sunrise in Heaven, which is what it's listed in Netflix. 2019, 6.4, 1050 viewers. But also it has Forever Love, which has the same poster with the people in a slightly different pose, but it says 2020, has a different release date, and it has a 6.5 out of 10 with 8 people who've looked at it. But it's the same movie with the same cast, but the storyline plot is like different. I mean,
what?
It's this overview's the same movie, but it's like not written the same. If you know what I mean.
So it's
like,
not shot for shot the same movie with a different title.
No. No, I'm sorry. Yes, it is the same movie. It just has a different title.
Oh, okay.
But like the synopsis describes it differently. I mean, it describes this, it's like written differently.
Do you think it's like different markets? It has different titles,
it
like
must
the
be.
Chinese release.
That's the only thing I could think of because
that's really weird.
And it's what's also weird is that where is it? Sunrise in Heaven shows a budget of $1,100,000, and Forever Love shows a budget of $1,440,000.
Money laundering.
I don't know. And it looks like there's different production companies, too. It's very strange. I'm not really sure what's going on with it. But I believe Forever Love is Hallmark. And Sunrise in Heaven is just, I don't fucking know. I guess maybe Hallmark bought it and rebranded it. I don't know. And there's not a lot of information about this. Maybe they cut the God stuff out. Because they could, as we'll see. We'll get to that.
I'm very interested. It's probably a money laundering, child sex trafficking cover-up scheme for some major pastor like Mo
Bitches
Fostein or something. You know, some generic guy. Not naming anyone.
Yeah, and God forbid you'll get fucking dragged into the Ghislaine Maxwell trials next.
Jesus. So,
while looking up stuff about this movie, somehow I stumbled across the Google reviews.
Ooh.
And they are... I see where the 50% came from. Because they are almost unanimously 5 stars or 1 star. One of the reviews, the reviewer proclaims himself to be 10 years old and Christian. So... But in case you were wondering, Sunrise in Heaven is a Christian movie. It's a Christian romance movie, which fucking... grossed me out the door. I think that's the 3rd one in this goddamn show we've reviewed now. But yeah.
Well, it didn't have Ja Rule in it, so too bad.
So these reviews, several of them, well, both good and bad, mention the main actress. But oddly, again, rabbit hole, 3 a.m. Oddly, some of them call out the lead actress by name. And her name is, I've lost the tab, Kaylee... Oh, no. Where'd it go? I'm such a fool. Kaylee Cohen. Or Cohen, I don't know. Kaylee Cohen, they call her out by name. So I've looked Kaylee Cohen up on IMDb. She has practically nothing. Like, this is her, I'm going to call it debut, air quotes. She was like a waitress in some show, some middling TV show, just like a background waitress. And she was in a short where she's, like, in her underwear doing sexy lady stuff. It's pretty hot, actually, but it's it's like made for European television. It's above board. And she was in like a Chinese commercial for something, a tea box. I don't know where the hell a tea box is. I don't know. I couldn't find the commercial. But
man, it must suck to be a struggling actress.
It seems like it. I think she was an Instagram star, as she because she's a super attractive young woman. Well, she's your age, so I guess she's not that young.
She's that old? Jesus.
she's pushing 40, I hear.
God, put her out to pasture.
So I think she probably plied her Instagram followers, because I also found her YouTube page, because I couldn't sleep.
Jesus,
because
Larry.
I don't sleep anymore, all right? I just given up on it. My life is not happy right now.
What do her shoes smell like?
Lavender. No, I don't. No, I mean, like, just typing in her name pulled it out. I didn't look up her. I didn't stalk her. It came up when I put her name into Google.
Okay.
So I think she probably like plied her Instagram followers for reviews, because they call her out by name. Because one was even like, "Oh, I love her. She's one of my favorite actresses." And it's like, well, what did you love her? Fucking waitress in 90210, whatever the hell she was in.
Does she have an OnlyFans page?
I didn't look.
Larry, come on. You got to do your research.
I did so much research. Are you
but you
kidding
could have seen
me?
some titties.
Are you fucking kidding me? And I have a lot to say about her in the context of this review as well, but I don't know. I fell into the Google review hole, which is like, I've never really looked at it before, and it's just like regular people's reviews just right at my fingertips. So I kind of just fell down a hole of like, oh, this is interesting. So
a window into the psyche of people who would take the time to review this movie.
A lot of people who stopped around the 25-minute mark, and a lot of people who fucking are Christian and think it's the best movie ever. But so anyway, yeah. So Isaac, I did ask you before we started to grab a pencil and paper for me. It's one of those, friends. You're going to need to jot some stuff down, but don't worry, it's not going to be anything close to naked level insanity. You'll be able to follow along. It's mostly just check marks. So this movie is impossible to review. Let me just throw that out there to start. It is impossible. This is an adaptation of a book called His Sunrise, My Sunset, which is written by Jan Hurst. Now, this is based on a true story, and it is a dreadfully sad story.
Oh.
So, I'm not going to make fun of the parts that really happened, because they're horribly sad and like nobody's fault. So it's not going to be, that part's not going to be that funny. There's plenty to go into and make fun of, because most of this movie is nonsense. But there's parts of it that are just terribly, soul-crushingly sad. So I'm not going to make fun of those, because they really happened to a person, and it sounds like it was awful.
I'm very intrigued.
Now, that said, this is the most unnecessary film adaptation of a book that has ever been made by man. We've had movies ranging from good, like Last Dragon, to downright terrible. See any other movie we've reviewed on this show.
Shut the fuck up. Cut.
But no movie until this one has ever made me truly, like, actually question, why was this made? Like everything else, you're just trying to grab a buck. This was such an unnecessary adaptation. It boggles the mind, and we'll get to it. I have a lot to say about it. So yeah, I wanted to. Yeah, I'm going to ease up on the sad bits because they're real. Also, so this movie too, in the fucking continuing trend of Isaac giving me movies that are impossible to review on Bells on Netflix. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
This movie is very awkwardly split between the past and the present. And
one of those.
It cuts between randomly. Like cuts scenes together to, cut back from what happened in the 60s to what happened today.
Yeah.
That is an impossible formula for me to make an interesting review, especially when you hear about the shit that happens in the present. So what I have done for you listeners, Isaac, you can go fuck yourself. I don't care what you do. I've split it into two parts. We're gonna start basically, we're gonna touch the present just for a minute, and then we're gonna go through the entire storyline in the past and pick back up in the present day. That's the only way this review is gonna be possible for me to do, because otherwise it would be just me droning on about this boring story, and then occasionally I crush your soul with horrible sadness. So to make this, so if you watch this movie, first of all, why? What is wrong with you? Don't you hear the words I'm saying? Don't you know I am your Christ? I'm suffering so you don't have to, okay? I'm staring at the microphone while I shouted it. You don't have to watch this, and I encourage you not to. But if you do, like an idiot, like my Judas, you're gonna see that it's all over the place compared to what I usually do. So, anyway, like I said, my Herculean task begins anew.
I'm pretty sure your last words before the hail of bullets takes you down is, I am your Christ.
I can only hope. I mean, people will talk about me at least, right?
Yes.
Oh, man, as I'm like having a Nagatomi Plaza fucking my own version where I'm the villain in that one.
Don't give yourself too much credit. You'll be nude at a Chick-fil-A.
No, I'm far too fat to be nude in public. All right, so we're going to kick things off in the present day, 2019, whatever. Like I said, we're going to tell this movie from past to the present, so despite how the movie presents itself, I'll get to the context, blah, blah, fuck yourself. So we see an elderly couple driving along. They're having a conversation. These are our main characters. We'll name them when we get to the past, so don't worry about it right now. These two are just totally and completely and utterly in love. Like movie love, you know? Where, like, every single little action is the most romantic thing in the world. Oh, darling, pass me the peanut butter. Why do I need peanut butter when I'm already stuck to you, body and soul, forever, my darling? It's Jesus. Like shit like that.
God.
Romance is real, love is real, allegedly. I have scientists looking into it, but we're still working on the formula. It's just eye-rolling foppishness, just the whole beginning part. I know I'm not the intended audience for romance movies, but still, it's just grossed me out the door. So this elderly couple is talking about their retirement, and now they're heading off to do some sort of unspecified retirement adventure or whatever. To prove my point about the romance, by the way, that my peanut butter analogy wasn't totally bullshit, she asks him if he's ready to see the world. He kisses her hand and says, I thought I was already looking at it. I said I was not going to disparage this poor woman's real-life tragedy. But in this case, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume her final moments of her husband's lucidity, spoilers, were not so cloyingly romantic. Because it's so unrealistic in every sense of humanity. He's an old man. He's probably talking about his sciatica. So we get...
And honestly, if you've ever been around an older couple, who's been together for a long time and has really been in love for the vast majority of their long life, it's really interesting to see, but it's not that cookie cutter fake romantic bullshit. They just have a way about them that feeds off each other, but it's not cliche.
No.
It's utterly unique because they've built their lives together.
Everybody's lives are different and everybody celebrates romance differently, but this is so Harrison Ford kissing Carrie Fisher in Star Wars fake that it's like, yes. Oh my God, come on. Based on a true story? Jesus Christ. So, we get some voiceover about miracles quick while we learn are from the young version of her husband, and we'll get to that later. Back to retirement talk. They're making small talk about what they're going to do before a truck swerves into their lane and smashes into the car. We get a flash cut. We come back to a still of a wooden cross hanging from their rearview mirror, which ended up with me looking into, is it legal to hang things off your rearview mirror for 15 minutes? Turns out you can, as long as it doesn't obstruct your vision. There's several court cases I could get into about it, but I mean, I just don't sleep anymore. I don't sleep. I don't get joy from anything. Fuck. Jesus.
Give you fuzzy dice for Christmas.
Those are like the worst things to hang in your mirror.
Perfect.
So while we are getting, we see that the protagonists are getting pulled out of the car by paramedics. We see the driver of the truck get, vaguely arrested in the background. And then we're, cutting to the wife remembering, they're like walking on a beach and doing this basically like, what is it? It looks like stock footage for a Cialis commercial. They're like walking on a beach. Yeah. They're like holding hands in slow motion. They're like looking at each other's eyes and kissing each other. It's like, if you ever seen a Cialis commercial, which in case you're not aware, kids, it's a drug that makes old people fuck. I mean, tell me I'm wrong. That it's what it looks like. Just look up Cialis commercial on YouTube, and this is what it is. It looks, no joke, just like it. And we get a weird sort of sad half chanting music over this scene. I don't know. The music's nothing to write home about, and we'll have more to say about it in the past. But all right, so that's it. We have our baseline. So from now on in this movie, we cut between the aftermath of the car accident to 1964, when our protagonists met. And like I mentioned, in order not to bog down the review with just a family crying every couple of minutes, I'm splitting the two stories up. And you know why I'm doing that? Because I can, because it affects nothing. These two stories, as we're going to find out, do not affect each other in any way. The two have no impact on the other than the fact that it happened and they're married now. Like, you don't need one to have the other. And in fact, they bog each other down. Both stories bog each other down in different ways. It's truly a miracle.
The scenes aren't like related or themed.
No, in no way. No way whatsoever. It is two different movies. And again, I understand this is a book adaptation. In a book, it probably works fine. I'm sure it's no matter there. And I'm going to guess it's probably not written in this way. I don't know. I'm not going to read it. I did look it up to find a Google preview or something, and I couldn't find it. And I'm certainly not going to fucking pay money for it. So, sorry, Jan. But, oh, the religion. The religion. We're going to get into Christianity again, so I hope you're fucking ready for that. But, not important to this part of the movie. So, yeah, we'll get to that. But it's real kind of out of fucking nowhere when we get to the present. Anyway, let's get to the meat of this movie, because the past is the meat. The present is the cheesecake. That's sad. What's a sad cheesecake? Cum. Cheesecake made of cum.
What?
I need a pack of cigarettes. I just need to eat it with a fork and knife. I'm so mad. I hate this. I hate you. I hate this podcast. I hate the people who listen to it. But I like... what's something I like? Masturbating. I don't know. Anyway, we got to an Air Force base in 1964, California. God, I'm so upset. In this fucking movie. So we cut to an Air Force base in the 60s in California. It's 64. This is something I didn't really take notice to in the first time I watched it. I happened to notice with the Google reviews before the second time. I didn't really take notice of the year the first time, but the setting is set up like it's the 30s. There's big band music playing. The outfits and costumes are all wrong. The sensibilities, I mean, people are different, so that one's harder to pin down. It's like, not everybody's a hippie running around, but the sensibilities are very old-timey.
Do you know when the book came out?
I do not. I think it was within the last 10 years.
Okay, I was wondering if the book was... Or it's based on a true story, so I wonder if the actual people of the true story would have been young in the 30s. It's just how the book is written, and then it just wasn't updated, or the present of the movie should have been set in like the 90s or whatever, and they didn't bother.
Yeah, I don't know. I really could not find any information about the book other than just a really, 3 sentences worth of synopses. So I couldn't say. But either way, I mean, if you're the director of this movie, you're the one calling all the shots on the setting and shit. Just change the numbers. Change the dress around. It doesn't matter. I don't.
Yeah.
It's just very poorly done in how it's put together, and it really throws things off. It's like, wait a minute. Once I was paying attention to the year, I was like, how's this the fucking 60s? How are we a year away from Vietnam? But whatever. And it's the big band music is the biggest thing, because it's nobody listened to the big band. My grandfather did, because he lived through it in the World War. Nobody listened to big band music in the 60s. It wasn't like...
It was...
Yeah.
Rock and roll had been popular for 10 years already by the early 60s. Elvis was the biggest thing in the world. The Beatles were already around.
Yeah, Kurt Cobain was doing shit. I don't think he was
not
alive.
born yet, but whatever.
I thought of Jimi Hendrix. No, I was trying to think of Jimi Hendrix, but thought of Kurt Cobain, and then I thought, oh, that'd be funny. Because I need to
Jimi Hendrix, I think, was in the Air Force, actually.
Really?
Does he have a cameo in the movie?
No, Isaac, he's dead.
Oh.
He's been dead for some time.
Oh, funny. How about that?
We see a bunch of soldiers at a cafeteria chow line, including our male protagonist, who is the old man from the car accident, lest we forget, and our female protagonist serving the slop, who is our old woman from the car accident. Different actors and actresses, but the same characters.
Right.
So we're going to give them names, finally. Our actress, Kaylee Cohen, will be called Mrs. Bland, which I'll get to shortly. And I can't believe I can do this again, but in the continuing tradition of Larry watching faith-based movies, I've somehow impossibly found another excuse to call a character Lips, as our male protagonist will be called Mr. Lips. In case you forgot...
That's the worst name.
In case you forgot, I called the best friend character in a cowgirl story Lips because I'm a bad person. Our male protagonist is called Mr. Lips because he has, and this is not a joke, the most luscious, kissable lips on a man that I have ever seen. Now, unfortunately, I am a straight man, and I don't find myself particularly attracted to men, but this actor playing Mr. Lips, my word, if I ever had to kiss a man for any reason, he would be the choice. The lips on this man are phenomenal.
I need to go back and look. I don't remember his lips.
Yeah, they're top notch.
Top notch.
So our protagonists interact. Mr. Lips tries unsuccessfully to hit on Mrs. Bland in the chow line. Mrs. Bland wants nothing to do with it and blows him off. She goes home and meets with her father, who is played by Corbin Burnson, who also gets top billing in this flick. And that is because, for those of you who don't know, he is one of the major characters in the show Psych, which Isaac and I are both big fans of. If you recall from Woody Woodpecker, we also had Timothy Odmondson, who played Carlton Lassiter in Psych, as the... you called him Lassiter, so I don't know what his fucking name was in Woody Woodpecker.
Yeah.
Nor do I care.
He was the angry dad.
So Corbin Burnson, he played Henry Spencer in Psych, who was the main character's father, who was a stern ex-cop. In this movie, Corbin Burnson is playing a character named Henry Spencer, who is a stern ex-soldier. He's not. That's not his name. He's playing the same character.
Right.
He is.
That would have been great.
Corbin Burnson, if you take a look at him, just look him up. He looks exactly how you expect like a cantankerous father to look. So
yeah, he's good for the role.
Yeah. And
he was in Cheers way back in the day, I'm pretty sure.
Yes,
too.
I believe so. I still have not seen a whole lot of Cheers. It's on my list to get to before I die, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I would say Psych is more of his big role because more people have been watching television since then. So
I think Cheers is more successful than Psych.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, Cheers is...
But yes.
How many people in our generation have
seen
Cheers, Isaac? Yeah. So,
fair enough.
Because he's playing the same character and because I love Psych, he will be called Henry Spencer. And also, by the way, he's the villain of this movie. He's also Henry Spencer cranked up to 11 to the point where he is actually murderous at one point, but we'll get to that.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
He plays his character is a psychopath. So there's that.
Fuck.
Corbin, I love you, but stick to USA Network. For God's sake, you're killing me here, man. So Mrs. Bland gets home and talks with Henry Spencer. They have generic banter. Mrs. Bland is a teenager in this movie, I think 18 or 19 maybe. So she has typical teenager attitudes, one-word answers, she's bored talking to her father, blah, blah, blah. We get a taste of Mrs. Bland's acting here, and boy howdy does it leave something to be desired.
Oh.
When I thought about how to describe her acting, I was really proud of myself. I came up with the following analogy. It's as if Renee Zellweger's voice from B-Movie escaped and grew a different actress around it. Now, not that it sounds the same, because if you recall, Renee Zellweger's voice sounded like, well, he's just a little bee. I don't know what he's doing over there. He's just a little bee buzzing around with a little honey bee. that's what Renee Zellweger sounded like. Mrs. Bland does not sound like that, but that is the energy she puts into the universe, is the Renee Zellweger voice energy. So
too many sleeping pills.
Exactly. She acts the way the voice sounds. Bored, wooden, detached. I thought it might just be a character choice at first, which would be fine, because she's playing a teenager talking to her father in this scene. So, okay, I mean, that'd be good acting then. As the movie goes on, we find out that's her only... that's all she's got.
Oh.
She does get one scene later on where she shows a little range. It's not great, but it's fine. But the majority of the movie is this totally bored, detached woman who looks confused as to why she's on camera every scene. So, I'm not trying to be particularly mean or overly critical for once, but also every review pointed this out as either loving it or hating it. So again, I'm a man of the people. I am your messiah. I don't know how many times I have to say this. So back to Mrs. Bland and Henry banter. They have boring back and forth talk. Henry is concerned that the soldiers of the base are hitting on her. She's she works a chow line on a base, like an Air Force base. He has complete 100% control of her dating life. The man is a tyrant, despite the fact that he tells her constantly how he is fine over her dating. Nothing to her groundbreaking here, but again, as this is based on a true story, nothing to say about that. It's probably true. So Henry drills into her again that she is forbidden to date soldiers. This has been a long-standing rule. We learn that Henry himself is a soldier of some kind, never find out what, and that his time in the military has shown him how incapable soldiers are of love. In the military, friends forget about their mothers and sisters and thus forget how to treat a woman or commit to and handle a relationship. Henry Spencer is married. ... But whatever, small potatoes. He makes her promise not to date anyone in the military. Given we know how this movie starts, obviously that's going to go tits up. Ugh, fuck. Back to the chow line. By the way, I want to point out, I'm on page 1 of 11. It's 38 minutes into this movie. Back in the chow line, we see Mr. Lips once again attempting to hit on Mrs. Bland by complimenting her hair. She tells him she doesn't date GIs. He says, yet. And then they have more playful banter, but she shuts his luscious mouth up. So they clearly like each other. And as Mr. Lips leaves, Mrs. Bland's best friend teases her. The best friend really only gets one character trait, and that trait is easy. In quotes, they call her easy. So we're going to call her Cover Girl, because she's easy, breezy, beautiful Cover Girl. So Cover Girl tells Mrs. Bland that Mr. Lips wants a hairnet, which I have no idea what the fuck that means. And
Is that a sex thing?
I don't know. I'm not easy.
Like if you have really long manicured nails and you scratch the balls while you're eating the asshole, I bet that's what it is.
Isn't that a rusty trombone?
I feel like that's something else. I think something else makes it rusty.
That's just jerking off while you're getting your ass eaten. This is not conducive to a proper working environment.
Yeah, this is an episode about Christ.
The question, is it though? Can you please pump in the X-Files theme under this while I point at the camera?
No, absolutely not.
That's probably royalty free by now. Has it been 70 years?
Yes.
So across the cafeteria, Mr. Lips stares at Mrs. Bland with his mouth open like a fucking dog who just showed a magic trick. Later, CoverGirl and Mrs. Lips are at lunch. CoverGirl mentions she has a date with Mr. Lips' best friend. We'll get to that later. CoverGirl tries to convince Mrs. Lips... Or, no, excuse me. I'm getting my Lipses confused. She tries to convince Mrs. Bland to wing woman for her and go out with Mr. Lips. They have girly banter back and forth about him being cute, but CoverGirl fails to coax her into it, so whatever. We get a montage of chow line antics. I'm so tired of this fucking chow line, it takes up the first 20 minutes of this movie. We see Mr. Lips keeps asking her over and over, day after day, different ways he can take her out, while she continuously rejects him. She keeps giving the excuse about how she's washing her hair that day. I've been given that excuse before by potential dates, and it is a bad one. Just say no. Just say no, ladies. If you don't want to date a fat loser with very little to offer you but humor, just say no. Just let me down easy. I mean him down easy.
I've been growing my hair out for almost a year, and it's long curly hair, so it's kind of a pain in the ass to wash. And I do a whole wash, rinse, repeat, condition, everything. A shower still takes 20 minutes tops, all said and done. You do not need to take an evening to wash your hair.
I would like to submit for the record that I have willfully decided to go bald. It wasn't just a thing that genetically happened to me. It is a choice I've made So I have decided to, just start going bald and keep my hair short. That's me. I did that.
Oh, I pulled out the longest, thickest nose hair. I'm getting old. I don't like it.
I just bought a nose hair trimmer.
Oh, mine is awful. It doesn't cut it. It pulls them. It grabs and pulls. It's the worst.
I haven't used it yet. Oh no.
Oh, good luck, buddy.
Great. This is hey Isaac. This is great.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah. Great radio.
So two things.
Really get the Gen Z listening.
Yeah, I know. Wait till your nose hairs grow, kids. Wait till it hurts to be alive. Not only physically, but emotional.
Enjoy it now while you're too stupid to know what's going on.
God. Oh, man. All right, so two things about this montage of him asking her on dates. Once again, we get big band music, which is not appropriate for the time. And we also get so much recycled footage here that I want to vomit. And as I have made perfectly clear on this podcast time and time again, my only complaint is recycled footage. Anyway, eventually she relents and gives him a maybe. So Mr. Bland, God damn it, I don't know why I did these names this way. Mrs. Bland tells her parents she's going out to the movies with CoverGirl. We meet her mother here, who I am going to call Doormat, for reasons we'll get to later.
Oh boy.
Henry is suspicious, but lets her go. Mr. Bland and CoverGirl, Mrs. Bland, fucking goddamn. Mrs. Bland.
Hey, maybe she's gender fluid.
He's also bland. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he's a better actor than she is, but not by, one notch.
He's got the lips.
He's got the lips. She's got some nice lips, too. But, I mean, I've seen attractive lady lips. I don't see a lot of attractive
ladies are
lips.
supposed... if a lady has bad lips,
let me stop you.
What's wrong with you?
Please don't say ladies are supposed to do anything. Please, don't complete that sentence.
Ladies are supposed to be autonomous and enjoy their lives.
Very good. You get a gold star.
Yay!
We live another day.
Boobies.
Yeah, no tits in this movie, believe it or not.
No.
What are you awing? You don't have to watch this.
I would have watched the titty parts.
So
I respect women. In theory.
He's sorry, ladies. He's married.
Hey.
So Mrs. Bland and CoverGirl meet up with Mr. Lips and his best friend outside a movie theater. His best friend has only one character trait, and that he is easy. So we're gonna call him Cover Boy. CoverGirl and Cover Boy start making out as they're full on dating by this point. Mrs. Bland and Mr. Lips look very uncomfortable as this is happening. By the way, I'm going to drop the Mr. and Mrs. now because I can't keep saying it. I'm tired of typing it and tired of saying it. Bland is the woman, Lips is the man. So while we watch the cover couple make out in the street, Lips tells Bland that he would rather sit and talk than go into the movie. She is suspicious that he's trying to get her out of her dress to rut in the bushes like a couple of hogs in heat, but they end up just walking through a park. So nothing like Isaac's first date. She firmly tells him she's not going to make out with him, but it turns out he's a nice boy and just wants to get to know her. He says that, quote, "I think you're beautiful and cute." He's an airman, ladies and gentlemen, not our finest branch of the military.
Shakespeare was a pilot.
No, Shakespeare wrote the pilot for Friends. Just 10 out of 10 writing, 10 out of 10 joke. That's Larry Beard, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be your waiter this evening. She says,
wasn't Phoebe a character in something?
Yeah, Friends.
A Shakespeare play?
Oh, and Shakespeare?
No. Yeah, wasn't? I don't know.
Yeah,
it sounds.
Hamlet would go to the coffee shop with Macduff and Phoebe. Yeah, and then she'd play Smelly Cat. Everybody laughs and fucking credits roll. Which is just William Shakespeare holding up sheets of paper with his own name, frantically throwing them at the crowd. I'm not funny anymore. I don't know what happened. So, Bland tells Lips that she's not interested in dating GIs because her daddy has told her what they were like. Lips agrees, then tells her that a lot of soldiers don't know how to treat a lady, but he isn't like that. She tells him she wants to go to college and have a real career, but her parents tell her as a girl she has to do girl jobs. Again, true story, and this I actually believe because our country's been broken forever.
Yeah.
He tells her that he joined the Air Force to get away from his parents, but has grown to like it regardless. She says he sounds just like her dad, and I'm uncomfortably reminded of the weird stepdaughter porn that has just ruined the modern porn industry, so thanks for that. But I
just skip the first 2 minutes.
No, they bring it up in the middle. I've tried that.
Sound off?
Then what's the point? If I'm not fully debasing myself, then why am I bothering? After a little more banter, she asks him if he has a girlfriend because she's weirdly suspicious that she might be a side chick. He says he's some romantic shit and they're about to kiss, which is something that she has been firmly denying she would do. But here we go, whatever. When Coverboy and Covergirl show back up, and the cover couple mentions how they fucked during the movie because they're easy, in case you forget. And as they part, Lips kisses Bland on the cheek. Walking home, Covergirl and Bland talk about how much fun Bland has had, and she's clearly falling for Lips because he sees the real her. Allegedly. I guess. I don't see it, but when she gets home, Henry wants to know why she's a fucking hour late. She gives a bullshit excuse and goes upstairs. Mama Doormat mentions that Bland looks like that when Bland looks just how, like... This is a dumb sentence. Why did I write it? Forget it. I'm not even saying it. Doesn't matter. Wait, no, I had a joke. Mama Doormat mentions that Bland looks how Henry did after they had their first date. And he becomes more suspicious that someone is trying to steal his daughter's precious virginity out from under him. Oh, God, I remembered the porn again. Ugh. Great joke. 10 out of 10. Totally worth it. Next day at breakfast, Bland tells her parents that she wants to have a friend over. She says he's a college student. Henry says, "Oh, college student you're dating?" Henry is only ever concerned with who his daughter is seeing. I guess this is close to real life. I can't imagine the thought of having a daughter and not just crying literally every second of my life. Having to imagine that one day something bad is going to happen to her. But I don't know that seeing only this from Henry does not make for even a good villain. It just makes him weirdly obsessed with who's fucking his daughter.
Characters need dynamics. Yeah. They need more than one thing to do.
Yep. Again, probably works as a book. It's probably fine. Why is this a movie? Oh, God. The family relents to allowing Lips over to hang out, but Henry is clearly suspicious, so Lips comes over and Bland prays before their meal. Isaac, this is important. Please mark a check mark down in your paper. So,
check mark.
At the dinner, Henry Spencer gives Lips the third degree. He is incredibly suspicious of Lips and grills him about his family. We get some weird mention about how Lips' family is really messed up and his dad, blew all the family money, but it never comes up again. I don't know what's up with that. Maybe it was more important in the book, whatever. Bland keeps trying to cover for Lips when Henry starts to ask him about what he does for a living. We get my favorite exchange in the whole movie here, where Bland mentions that Lips is going to tutor her in college math so she can be prepared for college. Doormat says, "Oh, honey, secretaries don't need math." And Bland says, "Well, maybe I don't want to be just a secretary." And Doormat replies, "Oh, I see. So your mommy's job isn't good enough for you. Is that what you're saying?" I have had these passive-aggressive dinners before, and they are just the best. God bless America. This country's been broken forever. Lips diffuses the situation by complimenting the pot roast like a good soldier. And after dinner, Lips makes a passing mention to helping with the dishes, which Henry encourages, also having Lips fill up his drink.
Lips is a good boy.
Would you like to give me a synopsis of what's happened so far? Wait, let me stop you. It's nothing! Nothing!
So they're falling in love, Larry.
We cut to Bland talking to a character we will later learn is an army chaplain. Bland is telling him about her problems. She's been secretly dating Lips for 6 months now, but her father would never accept it. The chaplain gives her generic advice to do 2 things. Isaac, there are 2 correct answers. What does the chaplain tell her to do?
Bone.
Incorrect, you fucking dunce.
Pray.
Pray is 1. What is the other thing every religious person will always tell you to do?
Search your soul?
You're close. Looking for a keyword here, baby. Looking for the money word. You know what it is.
Slaughter a chicken. Slaughter a chicken.
Oh, that's voodoo.
Damn it.
Or is that
I don't
hoodoo?
know, man.
That might be hoodoo. It's to have faith.
Oh.
He tells her to have faith and pray because that solves fucking everything. I'm not getting into religion again yet.
Kill your chickens, folks.
Then they pray, and I need you to make a check mark, please.
Pray.
So, cut to another dinner with Lips and the Bland family. Once again, Lips has been shanghaied into doing the family dishes. Henry
I thought you were going to say shanked.
Not yet.
Henry just shanks him in the back.
Not yet.
While he's doing the dishes.
Henry doubles down and tells Lips he wants his help to clean out the garage. Doormat reminds Henry that Lips has his own life to get back to, but as usual, Henry steamrolls over Doormat and says the 60s equivalent of, "Shut up, bitch, I make the decisions here." And Doormat meekly just kind of rolls her eyes and leaves because she lives up to her name in every scene she's in. Lips agrees, who's trying to ingratiate himself into the family so he can eventually put his dick inside of Mrs. Bland. Bland gives Henry a dirty look, but does nothing to stop this. We go out to the garage, which is totally full of what amounts to hoard or trash. Despite saying they would do the job together, Henry passive-aggressively browbeats Lips into doing it by himself, despite the fact that the job will take all night. Henry's whole bit is like just passively-aggressively insisting that Lips do whatever he says by like talking around doing anything else. It gets very old very fast.
That does not sound like good writing.
Lips is like, boring. Oh man, this is gonna take all night, and he's like, oh well, you better get started then. The sun's coming up soon. Shit like that.
Jesus Christ.
And it just gets older and older and older as it goes on.
Yeah. Oof.
In the middle of the night, as Lips is continuing to empty out the garage, Bland sneaks out to him. She's in like 3 layers of bedclothes. But Henry comes out and yells that she's not properly dressed to see a man. This is literally the most clothes she's wearing in the entire movie. So, whatever. The old times were weird. Send me your nudes. So she goes back inside, and Henry shouts that Lips has to pick up the paces. It'll be sunup soon because Henry's a psychopath. Bland tells Lips that he has nothing to prove to Henry and he should just leave, but Lips tells her she's worth it. She is not. Next day, the Bland couple is talking to the army chaplain again. We get another God lesson here while Lips complains that Henry is trying to break him down. Isaac checkmark.
Another prayer?
Just put a checkmark. You don't need to.
Okay.
Don't need to worry about it.
Okay.
The chaplain advises that Lips should just keep taking it over and over and over and over and over and just keep taking it until eventually, I guess he can bang Mrs. Bland. I don't know. He doesn't really end his bit. Oh, God. Back at the house, Lips and Bland are trying to do some math studying. Bland seems pretty bad at math, so maybe she should just stick to being a fucking secretary. I didn't mean it. I just...
Secretaries need to use math.
I didn't...
Not like a lot of math, but...
Well, you would know. I was just a joke. Back at the house...
I have to know how numbers work.
You do.
6 is more than 4. Still.
You know what?
It's been for a while.
When did that change? I think it was back in 1964, actually, when 6 became more than 4.
Yep.
But that they only changed. They didn't invent that because I invented inventing back in '84. So I mean,
that's after the year you said. I don't think you know how numbers work.
I want to die. I don't want to be alive anymore. Henry barges in and accosts Lips, telling him that there's weeds in the garden that need a picking. So Lips reluctantly goes out to help, pulling weeds in holy gloves, not godly, just gloves full of holes, while Henry looms over him like drinking an iced tea. Lips asks for water, and Henry does another one of his little passive-aggressive ways. He's like, oh, you don't need water, you're almost done. Just keep working at it. Because he's a psychopath, let's not forget.
Jesus.
So while he's pulling the weeds, he also asks for gloves, and he asks for better gloves, and Henry's like, nope, don't got them. While pulling the weeds, Lips' hands get all torn up. He asks for new gloves. We get another Henry denial. Finally, Lips has had enough and calls Henry out for being such a bastard. A bastard! Henry tells Lips that he doesn't trust him because there's something not right about him. Henry says he has a problem with the fact that Bland and Lips are clearly dating and lying about it. Lips says, I'm not one of your recruits. Lie. And Henry says, I know what you are. You're soft. Like a soft cheese filtered through an old woman's pantyhose.
He does not say that.
He calls him soft.
Why would he want him to be hard? Because then the penis would enter the daughter.
It's not always about cock. It's like, and if
that's the first time hearing of this.
If that's not one of our T-shirts, I don't know what is. Doormat tries to intervene, but Henry shuts her down, and she wanders off the scene as she is wont to do. Bland and Lips argue about Henry. Lips is unsure how they can keep this up, as he's tired of being the whipping boy. He also mentions they both work at the same base and somehow haven't crossed paths yet. Why am I finding this out now? How did that not come up before? How was that not the second scene after they date? It's been like 6 months at least, and somehow this is only coming up now. So Bland mentions that Henry is never on the base, as he's always elsewhere doing trainings at other bases. I guess he's like a drill sergeant or something. I don't know. We cut to next day, where, of course, who should drive up to the base while Mr. Lips is guarding it but Henry, who, in his best moment in the movie, he just kind of looks over and he kind of sarcastically says, "Whoops," and then just drives off, which was great. Hey, Corbin Bernsen's a great actor. It's just, this role is just garbage. Just, Corbin, stick to good stuff, man. All right. So at home, Henry confronts Bland about Lips, since now he knows that Lips is a soldier. She reveals the jig is up and that he is in fact a GI, and she knew about it. Henry tells her they must stop dating immediately. He tells her if she won't, he will have Lips dishonorably discharged because he's a legitimate psychopath.
That's intense.
Now this, I would like to actually know if it was real. I mean, I've told my sister's boyfriends I would do awful things to them if they crossed her, but when push comes to shove, their punishment for crossing her will be proportional to the crime, you know? So, for his daughter's defiance, Henry plans to completely destroy Lips' life. A dishonorable discharge is one of those things that sticks around forever. It doesn't just go away. It's hard to get away.
Lose all your benefits of being in the Army.
Yeah, which is most of the reason people go to join the Army, believe it or not. Henry and Bland argue about Lips, which, there's a sentence for you. We see that Bland's sad acting is about as poor as her regular acting. Their argument leads to Henry storming off, telling her that it's over. Doormat comes in and tells Mrs. Bland that she will talk to Henry, but I bet you can guess where that's going to fucking go. We see Bland sneaking out of the house to meet with Lips. They go to a makeout point, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I fervently hope that Killer Clowns show up to this makeout point, because, for God's sake,
that'd be a great crossover.
Let something happen. I want to see Henry Spencer fighting Killer Clowns. I'm going to throw up.
Did you say something or humthing?
I don't even care anymore.
I'm going to start saying that. Oh, what should we do? I don't know. We'll do humthing.
Speaking of, how is your wife?
Still prone.
You sure she's still alive?
Yeah, I hold a mirror up every once in a while to make sure she's alive and not a vampire. So far, so good.
So stupid. Why am I laughing?
The stupidest things are the best. I've learned that from Trey Parker.
He's a great coach of that. I'm going to die for real. This is it. This is the one that kills me. I can't even breathe.
He's coughing up blood, folks.
I just don't understand. Who made this and why? Did they expect to make $1 million? This cost over $1 million.
Whoever made this is expecting to arrive in heaven and have Jesus, shake his hand and be like, "Sunrise heaven, yeah, good job, buddy. I appreciate it. Good work."
$1 million. This movie has
think of
no
all the dolphins
effects.
you could can with that money.
Oh my god! Oh, I'm crying. I don't even know what it's from. So they're at this makeout point. Lips tells Bland that he's being transferred to Nebraska to guard generals, because Nebraska is where we need our military guards to guard generals, I guess.
Seriously.
I don't care.
It's like the most insular state in the Union.
Yeah, I don't understand the Army, but whatever. It's all pomp and circumstance. We get a brief back and forth scene here where Bland assumes that Lips is trying to break up with her, and she even says at one point to get. I was able to copy this line here and how she acts. She thinks he's trying to break it off with her, and she's like, but why? I love you, and her delivery is like getting hit in the face with a brick of cement. But of course, instead of breaking up with her, he wants to marry her.
Yay!
She tells him that she's DTM, which is down to marry. That's what all the kids are saying. but he has to get Henry's permission first. I guess she didn't see the beginning of the fucking movie where Henry's been a rotten bastard to him the entire time,
right?
And most certainly would not give this man he professed to hate to ever get near his daughter's precious, precious virginal flower. But hey, again, real life story. This is probably true, so I can't chalk it up to bad writing. I can just chalk it up to bad humans. Lips ask her what...
Bad...
Go ahead.
Bad writing comes from bad humans. I'll just say that.
It's true. Oh, man. Lips asks her what happens if Henry doesn't give Lips the blessing. Bland tells him, in that case, no fucking wedding, because her priorities are all straight. Our country's been broken forever. The two start making out when who should arrive but Henry himself, because I guess he just has tracking nanites in his daughter's blood. Mrs. Bland leaves with her dad while Henry shouts mean things at Lips. And we cut to Henry on his porch cleaning a gun. Lips shows up to talk to him. During this entire conversation, Henry has the gun pointed at Lips. Just a fun side note there.
Damn.
Lips tries to talk to Henry.
That's not a thing you do.
No. I mean, maybe in the 60s or 40s, question mark?
I guess. If you're ever a responsible gun owner, you don't.
No. Well, Henry Spencer, man. Lips tries to talk to Henry, but Henry tells him they can talk over shooting practice in the woods. So they go out to the woods. Henry asks Lips if he's a shooter. He's in the fucking army, so yeah, I would say he's a shooter, you dopey twat. When they walk deep into the woods, we get a vibe that Henry's about to shoot Lips, but instead, Henry just takes him to shoot bottles. Henry is an excellent marksman. We find out that Lips is apparently not a shooter because he misses his shots. Henry makes Lips set up more bottles, and while Lips is doing this, Henry just shoots the bottles basically next to his face.
Jesus.
Like the psychopath that he is.
Fuck's sake, man.
Lips freaks out, rightfully so, and the two argue. Lips tells him that he wants the marriage blessing. Forgetting, I guess, everything so far in the movie, Henry tells Lips that if he wants the blessing, he has to shoot a bottle from half the distance he would need to get into the army, which, in case you've forgotten, is a feat he has already accomplished.
Wait, what? What is happening?
He's willing to trade his daughter for shooting a bottle. But because life finds a way, he misses the shots. Lips misses. Henry says something sarcastic and wanders off. And in between shots, as Henry gives him 2 shots to do this, and in between, Henry berates him the entire time and tells him he doesn't deserve to marry Bland because he's going to be far away next to real women he can see and smell. Actual quote from the movie.
Oof.
And during the beratement, Lips mentions that he's an expert marksman, but apparently fucking not, which is a weird point to add.
Yeah, what?
So
what's happening?
I don't know, man. Back at makeout point, Lips is pissed about Henry. Bland tries to convince Lips to keep trying to get the marriage blessing, but Lips has had enough of this bullshit, so he breaks it off with Bland because he doesn't want to keep dealing with the psychopathic nonsense that goes along with it. So Bland goes to the army chaplain and tries to talk out her problem. He gives her the most quoted romance line from the Bible, from 1 Corinthians, love is patient, love is kind, love does not blah, blah, fucking blah. The Bible, fuck you. The chaplain gives her fairly generic advice and tells her to follow her dreams and get that Lips dick regardless of what her sexy daddy tells you.
Ooh, that's a sentence.
Christ, I hate myself. Christ, why did I write that? Why did I write that? I wrote that. I made a conscious decision to write that down and then repeat it. So we get the confrontation scene here between Bland and Henry while Henry cleans his shoe. Mrs. Bland tells Henry that she loves Lips. He tells her that she's a dumb teenager and once Lips is gone, she will forget all about him. They argue back and forth with Henry being obstinate and Mrs. Bland screaming at him. This is the scene I mentioned earlier where Bland actually shows a bit of acting talent. Kaylee, if you're listening to this, channel that energy. That was good. You showed some talent. Follow that. Work on your other acting. One day you'll be as successful as me, a fat, directionless loser.
You gotta say, if she's pushing 30, she better drink some Benjamin Button juice if she wants a career. Goddamn. I'm joking. It's very sad that women are treated like this in Hollywood.
It's true. She's a small enough time star that if someone ever mentioned that a podcast reviewed a movie she was a star in, she might actually listen to this one day. I do like you, Kaylee. Just work on that. You can get better. I promise.
Yeah, we wish you a good life.
Email in.
Nudes. Or not.
Well, hold on.
If you want. Yeah.
I just expect to be arrested. Just someone come in and take me away. I don't belong to keep having freedom. I squander it. Oh, God. So, where was I? Oh, right. Fat, directionless loser. So, Bland tells Henry that she doesn't give a shit what he wants. So she decides to stand up for herself and tells him she won't forgive him for pushing Lips away. So Doormat, as usual, walks into the scene after it's all over. She mentions that Henry and Lips are a lot alike and mentions that Henry is being pretty hypocritical and their romance was much the same as their daughter's. Henry shuts her down and tells her that it doesn't matter because he's made up his mind and Lips is transferring anyway. Doormat then tells some story about how Henry cleans shoes when he's nervous, which I guess implies that Henry feels bad about what he did to Lips. He tells her that she's right, but then immediately turns around and says he needs to make the choice for them anyway, getting up and walking away, leaving Doormat behind at the table where we never actually interact with her again, fulfilling her role as having literally no impact on this movie whatsoever.
Lord.
All right, we're wrapping up here. I have no voice. Very upset. Lips and Coverboy are guarding the gate to the base when Henry comes up to them. Henry and Lips bicker like children before eventually Henry reveals that he has the bottle from the woods that Lips failed to shoot. He says some pithy nonsense while never actually admitting he was wrong. He mentions God briefly. Isaac, I need you to make a very, very, very tiny check mark next to your other check marks.
Okay.
Noticeably smaller. That's what matters.
I have done so.
Henry gives Lips the blessing to marry Mrs. Bland, all while never apologizing for being wrong or being an asshole or a literal murderous psychopath. We get an incredibly brief scene here where the Bland family reconciles, and we cut to the wedding. Nothing to mention there. It's pretty run-of-the-mill.
Jesus,
that's it.
what?
And as they walk out of the chapel, that's it. Or wait, did you forget? That was half of the movie, Isaac. You forgot about the present, didn't you?
No, I know what's happening.
But
why did Corbin Burnson do that?
At the end of the wedding, Corbin Burnson's not going to matter anymore. You can put Corbin Burnson out of your head. You can forget everything you just heard. I want you to take everything you just heard, everything I just told you, forget it. Dump it all in your head right now. Because you know why? None of that matters anymore. While we basically get the I now pronounce you man and wife, we cut to an old man dying in bed.
Yay!
Because that was the end of the movie, you see. So now, what I have to go back and do, starting from the beginning, is now we're going to take just the scenes that happen in the present. And as you're going to find out, I've just wasted an hour of your time. Because I'm about to talk about what is essentially a different movie now.
Yeah, what is happening? I'm confused.
So what I need you to do quick is just wherever you have your check marks, just draw a line underneath them, please. So
got it.
And any new check marks I ask you to make are going to be underneath that line. So they have two distinct groups, understand?
Understood.
Got it. So, to refresh your memory, like I said, during the entire review so far, we've been getting scenes of the present day. I didn't mention them then, and I'm going to mention them now to give you the complete narrative of what happens after the car crash that started this whole movie. And I don't mean the narrative car crash, I mean the literal car crash. These two stories have nothing to do with one another. This is not a joke. The two main characters are the same. It's Bland and Lips. It's just the older versions of them. They are different actors and actresses, obviously, so there's no crossover there. These are two movies that do not interact in any way. The stories are completely separate.
I'm so confused.
Yep.
I'll have to see how it plays out. I feel like I'm gonna dig out a thread that you missed.
All right. So if you remember, Old Man Lips and Old Woman Bland were in a car accident. From now on, when I talk about Lips and Bland, it's the old versions. So we get an elderly actress for Bland now. She's marginally better, but still nothing to write home about. Bland is told that she has a sprained shoulder only, but Lips has a terrible spinal cord injury and will be paralyzed. She can't see him yet, as he is in surgery right now. She contacts her daughters. To show up through tears. What a dumb sentence. I'm an idiot. This whole part, by the way, is terribly, terribly sad. And this is the part where I'm going to be nice for the most part, for the parts of it that I need to be nice for, because this really happened, and it's a bummer. So, whatever. So the daughters show up. One of them is a lawyer, and one of them is a nurse. They aren't particularly important. Kind of. The lawyer daughter is deeply religious, while the nurse daughter isn't. I wonder if that really happened, or if that's made up for this movie. Like, part of me wants to read this book to see what it's like, because I'm just so fascinated as to why this got made and why the choices were made that they were, because it boggles the mind.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to trace it back, honestly, myself.
I really wish I could find... I don't want to pay for it. I couldn't find it easily available either. But, so the lawyer daughter shows up, she's the religious one, she shows up to comfort Bland first. The two of them talk about Liv's condition, and then they pray together. Isaac checkmark. Again, bottom part. This is a real-ass fucking prayer here. This is not some bullshit movie prayer. This is a real-ass Christian prayer. I have heard this prayer in a church before.
Nice and long? Like, how long are we talking?
Over a minute.
Oh, that's a long prayer.
It makes my teeth grind, because I've got a whole hateful history with religion. We don't need to rehash. If you listen to this show, I don't like Christianity. I've got a problem with it. It's from my past. Just listen to old episodes. And the prayer uses the line "Father Jesus," which I have always hated.
Wait, yeah, no, that's not right.
It's a very common Christian phrase and New Age Christianism. Oh yeah, I'm hearing Father Jesus my whole life.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
That's
Jesus is the Son.
I don't.
Come on, guys.
Hey,
Get
man,
your story straight.
I hate the fray. I think it sounds dumb.
If you're going at mystical bullshit, man, you got to be like internally consistent. Not that Christianity is.
This is a Christian ass prayer, man. All right, so after the prayer, nurse daughter shows up. Nurse daughter,
Lord Jesus, please stop my hemorrhoids from bleeding so much.
Oh man,
a Christian ass prayer. Yeah, sorry.
Nurse daughter mentions when nurse daughter shows up and mentions that Mrs. Bland was extremely lucky to have gotten away from this with just like a sprain. Mr. Bland, God damn it, Mrs. Bland says, "No, it's not luck. That's God." Isaac checkmark, and just keep your pen in your hand. You're gonna need it a lot.
Okay.
Nurse daughter kind of waves off the God thing before going to look for the surgeon to talk to him, because according to her, some doctors aren't good at their jobs, and so she has to go check on it because she's a nurse and she's important. People grieve differently. Trying to be respectful of his family's tragedy, but this seems a little more like movie magic to give us a villain here. We need a pseudo-villain for the present timeline, because Henry Spencer's long dead by this point. And by the way, this is accurate. Nurse daughter is the villain. That was the accurate.
Oh, okay.
She's the villain.
Interesting. And she's the heathen. Right?
Not in the traditional sense, but you'll see what I mean.
Okay.
Nurse daughter comes back and says the news isn't great. The doctor comes over to tell the Lips family that he looks like shit post-surgery, so they should prepare themselves when they see him. He is indeed rather fucked up, as he has just been all smashed up from a truck, and the daughters and Bland start sobbing in the room when they see him. This is great. This is exactly what I wanted. Thank you, Isaac. I needed this in my life right now. Just a family being sad about their father.
Happy-go-lucky.
The family talks with the doctor to discuss options. The doctor tells them that his body is failing and that the family has tough decisions to make. He leaves so the family can talk. Mrs. Bland talks about everything she'll have to do to take care of him being in a wheelchair, but nurse daughter brings reality crashing back by saying that Dad isn't going to make it, and Bland will have to accept that Lips is dying. Lawyer daughter argues with nurse daughter, saying that nurse daughter is scaring Mom. Again, I just don't need this, man. I've lived through this more than once now in my life.
I was going to say, this sounds a little real.
The idea of watching a grieving family have to deal with pulling the plug is not necessarily how I wanted to be entertained. Yes, this is technically entertainment. It is a movie I would have to choose to watch in my free time. It's really real. It's fucking real, man.
Yeah.
I asked. This is my fault. I ask for realism in movies all the time, and boy, do I get it. This didn't need to be a movie, but anyway, Bland is not accepting that Lips is not going to survive. She says that God kept her alive for a reason. Isaac, checkmark.
Yes.
She says they need to be praying for Lips right now, which lawyer daughter readily agrees to. Isaac, checkmark.
Okay.
Nurse daughter says that this isn't fucking helping because a miracle isn't going to happen and Lips is not going to magically get better. Lawyer daughter asks, lawyer daughter gets this look in her eyes, and she asks in a disbelieving voice, "What's happened to you?" As if nurse daughter just said something like she hoped her dad would fucking die. Let it go, Larry. Let it go. People grieve differently. Nurse daughter says she's trying to be a grown-up since Mrs. Bland and lawyer daughter won't be. She says that praying won't change a medical diagnosis, which is accurate. Lawyer daughter says that my body's contorting as God is just clutching my insides with spite as I deny him yet again. Lawyer daughter says she wants nurse daughter to remember where they came from. Isaac, check mark, but this one I want you to circle, please.
Okay.
We're going to come back to that. Mrs. Bland tells nurse daughter that they have to place their faith in God to watch over Mr. Lips. Isaac, check mark.
Okay.
Later, the family is back in the waiting room when they're told... Scroll past it, sorry. They're told Mr. Lips is finally awake and responsive. Mrs. Bland smugly tells nurse daughter, "I told you God was watching over him." But nurse daughter reminds mom that the fucking sedative wore off, you lunatic. Isaac, checkmark. I also need you to slap me because I'm getting upset.
You're 60 miles away. I can't help you.
Bland takes off her shoulder brace because she doesn't want Lips to worry about her when she sees them.
Okay.
So we get a really sad scene here where the entire family is with bedridden, speechless Lips who can barely even look at them. And it's so fucking sad. I don't want to talk about it. It's too real, so I'm skipping the particulars. Everyone cries. Bland mentions that she's been praying nonstop. Isaac, checkmark.
Okay, this is getting intense, Larry.
Oh, just wait, man. The family meets with the doctor again. He tells them that medically Lips isn't improving. They talk about the will and how Bland has power of attorney. The family argues about what they should do. I'm going to skip over this part. To make a long story short, I was the executor of a will, and it kind of ruined my relationship with my family for a few years, and is still something that I'm a little sore about even years later. So this whole thing just cuts a little too deep. In addition to that, I had another family member who was in the process of dying over the course of a month, and we had very similar decisions and conversations to make about what happened when he was dying. And in case you were wondering, that tore that side of my family apart too, which that wound is never healed. So this is a little too real for Larry, so he didn't really watch this too closely. I'm having trouble staying objective. I've also been screaming.
Your poor neighbors.
The point is, Mrs. Bland doesn't want to accept having to pull the plug on Lips. At least I get the laugh because I'm still calling the man Lips.
That helps.
Here's the important part, though. At the end of this whole hospice and will exchange, Mrs. Bland dejectedly tells nurse daughter that she is right. God isn't helping them on this one anymore. Lawyer daughter says, "Oh, good job, nurse daughter. Way to go." Like I said, nurse daughter is playing our villain. Nurse daughter tries to apologize for, I don't know, killing God? Mrs. Bland refuses to accept it. Isaac, checkmark.
Okay.
That, man. Fucking A, man. I just need to break character for a second and fucking A, this...
You poor man. I haven't seen you this distressed in a variety of ways.
I know that I'm a loud, yelly, angry man for comedy's sake on this camera, but this podcast, but that's just an exaggeration of my real life. It's getting a little real for Larry today. Man, I didn't need to see this. Man, I didn't fucking need to see this shit.
You know what you need, Larry? You need faith and prayer.
Well, as if on cue, thank you for leading me in. The army chaplain shows up. Yeah, I guess
he's still alive?
I guess he stayed friends with them all these years.
Oh, Lord.
He is here to pray with Mrs. Bland. She says she's sorry, but God isn't listening, so he better go home. He says God is always listening. She insists that God isn't because now they need him the most. He isn't there, so obviously he isn't listening. Isaac checkmark. Nurse daughter goes to the chapel to be alone, and army chaplain follows her. They have a discussion where nurse daughter basically gets browbeaten to accept her faith again. I don't know, I'm getting sick of this fucking horse shit. We get another real prayer. This entire conversation is about God and prayer and religion. I'm tapping out. Isaac make 5 check marks because it is 5 solid minutes of God talk, including a halfway sermon about acceptance, and the prayer is over 1 minute and 20 seconds long. Christ's sake, Satan save me.
Lord, I don't like it.
All right, so the family is fucking visiting Lips again. Bland is trying to communicate with Mr. Lips, but he's clearly having trouble with it now as his mind is starting to fail as well as his body. Nurse doctor convinces them to talk to an end-of-life doctor. The lawyer daughter asks this doctor why everyone is telling her there is no hope. The doctor flat out tells her there is no hope. We get a lot of medical back and forth here, where the religious contingent of the family tells the doctor that they research people can recover in situations like this, which I'm sure doctors love to hear people doing Google research. The doctor tells them pretty forcibly, not mean, just firmly, that there is not, in this case, a chance of recovery. If there was, they would have seen it by this point. He drills the point home that it's only a matter of time before Lips becomes brain dead and is artificially kept alive with no activity. I told you all this not to mock anyone, just to point out that this is what I had to try and review. Why is this a movie?
Is this a documentary?
Technically, yes. So in the waiting room, Bland asks when God decides to make a miracle. Lawyer daughter says it's in his, capital H, his, hands. They don't know when God does what he does, but they have to keep their faith. Isaac checkmark. Mrs. Bland bemoans the fact that she survived the crash. I'm losing my mind. Mrs. Bland bemoans the fact that she survived the crash, and Mr. Lips is going to die, then mentions that if she could trade places with him, she would. Which, that's lovely for your daughters, but again, real story probably happened. It's incredibly sad. She goes to see Lips alone, and has a tearful scene where she says goodbye to him one-on-one, and it's really sad. And this convinces her to accept he's going to die. The next day, she tells the girls that he told her what he wants, and that he did it through God. I'm going to let that go because this is brutally sad, but still, Isaac checkmark. Nurse doctor says God is ready to welcome Dad into heaven, and is rewarded with positive reinforcement by lawyer daughter, who warmly welcomes nurse daughter back into the God-fearing flock. Isaac checkmark. Be so kind also while you make that check mark to shoot me in the head because I don't want to live anymore. The family...
It's not part of God's plan, Larry. I'm sorry.
Who are you to tell me? The family calls back the army chaplain, and together everyone has a sad moment with the doctor who tells them how exactly Lips is going to die when they do the end-of-life stuff. And I'm skipping it. You're welcome. Sad is sad is sad. As they prepare to pull the plug, Mrs. Bland and the daughters and the chaplain gather around Lips's bed. The chaplain gives us another real-ass, bona fide-ass Christian prayer. Isaac checkmark. Actually, 2 check marks because it's 2 minutes long. And it's totally filled with people sobbing. The daughters say their piece. I'm about to cry. Nurse daughter says, God, my dad has devoted his entire life to you. Isaac, checkmark. Circle that one too.
Okay.
The rest of this is just a bunch of sad people crying, and I've said that enough, for fuck's sake.
God,
what
is this movie?
We get our last scene, and this scene happens right after the wedding from the 60s plotline. Did you forget? Did you forget about the plotline with Henry Spencer?
I knew.
You didn't forget?
No, Henry Spencer. He's still here.
So,
Corcoran Burnson.
Lips flatlines, but it looks like he's still breathing. The doctor mentions this isn't unusual, and he still has air in his lungs. It's not a miracle. It's cold, hard science. However, the chaplain says he wanted to stay a little longer with them. I mean, okay, I said it'd be nice, but he's medically dead. He's left. He's gone. He is no more. He has ceased to be. He didn't stay longer. He's fucking dead. That stale lung hair. Shut up. You die next. Lips is dead. Family sobs. Bland says he's gone with God. Isaac checkmark. They drop Mrs. Bland off at home. That's it. Movie's over. The credits roll.
Holy shit. Really?
Ah!
God damn it. There's not a miracle turnaround at the end?
No, he does.
Jesus Christ.
He just does.
This is just an instructional video for hospice. This is awful. Holy Christ. Wow.
All right, so
I would not have guessed that ending.
So what to say about this?
Yeah.
Let's talk about it as a film. Taking everything else out, I just want to talk about the parts of this movie just in the equation of a film. These two plot lines, the 60s plot line with young Bland, Lips, Henry Spencer, Doormat, and the present timeline with the two daughters have nothing to do with one another. You understand this, right?
Yeah.
So these two, they don't intersect in any way. We learn the story of how Lips and Bland fell in love, but it doesn't contribute to the other plot line.
Right. You think there'd be more plot
No, and
when
like
they're old?
the only air quotes connecting thread really is the army chaplain, because in the actual like movie, how it's presented, he shows up in the present after he shows up the first time in the past. So that's the only real connection. But even that is like, didn't need it. You know, it's there. It's the one thing they could do.
That's the thing I would expect every cut, where there's some thing, or like after, yeah.
Why didn't CoverGirl or CoverBoy show? Now, again, I know it's based on a true story. Like, that's fine if you want to keep to that vision. But in that case, don't make a movie. It doesn't, why are you making a movie out of this, you know?
Or even, like, after the bottle shooting scene, like, she's holding his hand and like, oh, remember when you tried to shoot the bottle and to get inside my pussy and you couldn't?
Right, that would be hokey, but it would work. It would make sense. A movie. Or if you do it, even if you do it in the way that I presented it, with the past and then the present, that like gives it a narrative flow. The fact that it's like we see her in the chow line and then cut to two daughters and a mother sobbing over an old man's dying prone body, and then to cut back to the guy being like, hey, can I take it to the movies? Not gonna wash my hair. Dad's gonna die. Oh God. Like, what are you doing to me, man? And like the death story adds nothing to the past at all. I mean, I don't know how you would. It's the future, but obviously this is a family's real life. You don't want to downplay the fact that this happened and people to deal with this. This is the thing people deal with all the time. I'm going to say, and again, and trying to be a decent human being, which I do try to be. I know I fail. I know I'm a bad person, but I try to be. It is sad. It's not unique, okay? And I don't mean that to say, like, yeah, it's just another statistic. I'm not trying to be Joseph Stalin. But it's like, it doesn't make for a particularly compelling film. And that's fine. You know, again, I've said it over and over. The book, writing a book about it is fine, and I get it. Definitely. I wrote a novel, and it's just basically letters to people if I was going to commit suicide. It's awful. But, you know, like, it doesn't make for a good movie. Which begs the question again that I started with, like, why do this as a film? It just doesn't work. It doesn't need to be. I walked away with it just feeling sad for, like, the sake of feeling sad. I would have felt as sad if you showed me, like, bunnies getting killed for 60 minutes. Just, like, yeah, it's sad, but I get nothing out of that.
The movie would work more as a narrative if it was their, or at least had more of their entire life together. So, like, you watch them fall in love, and then you see them have kids, and so on, and then the end of the life, you know, is very sad, of course, and everything, but it's like, okay, this is the circle is complete. This is the end of the journey. You know, this is how life ends. Right. And instead of, like, young love and the tragedy of death.
Right.
Completely juxtaposed.
Like, there's movies that do that, and better than that. There's very few romance movies I like, but there's movies that do that better than this.
Yeah. And you either need to not have the death thing and just it's just the young romance story, or it's the whole arc of their lives together.
It's trying to fill this niche that, like, teenage love can be real, I think. And sure, I think this is back in the day. I would say this story is a lot more common. Of like, I would say nowadays, because the divorce rate's very high comparatively to what it used to be. Taking away if people are actually happy in their marriages that last 50 years, it's probably 50-50 or probably leans. I'm a pessimist, so I'm thinking it probably leans in the other direction. But I would say like the era of people being married to one person for 50 years is going the way of the dinosaur. I think.
Well, and also people get married so much later too.
Right. And
people used to get married at 18 to 20.
These
now
two
it's
were like
much
19. I think they're supposed to be like just fresh out of high school, basically. So I think they're trying to capitalize on that, which, okay, sure. But again, it just doesn't work when you put it together in a film. It doesn't work at all. But also, in addition to that, we need to talk about the religious part of this movie. Because in case you forgot, this is a religious flick. So, yes. Isaac, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to, on the bottom half of your list, I need you to count how many check marks there. It doesn't matter if they're circled, count those two. Count the check marks for me, please.
22 check marks.
So that's 22 check marks. That is for the present section of this movie, the 2019 section. And I need you to count the check marks from the top section.
3 and a little baby one.
So that's 3 and a baby one. So those check marks represent the number of times, not like per word, the number of times per conversation that a religious aspect was mentioned. So you have in the present section, God, 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 Jesus, Father Jesus, pray, God, faith, faith,
right.
God, faith. The beginning, the 3 and a baby check mark are Bland says grace before a meal. I don't remember the other two. Oh, the 2 times they talk to a chaplain who gives very generic, like, hey, be a good person and God wants you to love people. Like, it's I take issue with it because I am a fucking religious hipster, but it's generic good religious advice that would be in any kind of movie. And then the baby one is at the end when Henry is like, I guess God left the decision in my hands, which is the only time he ever even says God. That's it. And then in the present of this movie, you can't go a second without tripping over it and getting it full in your mouth. It's like it comes at you over and over and over. And I had you circle 2 of those because there was 2 points in particular I wanted to talk about. At one point, one of those circled check marks represents the nurse daughter saying to the the lawyer daughter saying to the nurse daughter, you know how we were brought up, like saying that the nurse daughter's given up on her religion. Like you said, we don't see that.
Right.
We get another story not related to that. We get, and the other circle, what was it now? Now I'm losing my mind. Okay, we get the other circle was nurse daughter saying she was praying, she says, God, my dad devoted his entire life to you. Again, at no point in the 60s storyline does Lips do or say anything about God. First of all, I'm not gonna fucking nitpick the entire lifeline. Means he has to do it every day of his life. Sure, whatever. But
right, but
why don't we see that? Like, it's like there should have been a third part of this movie that was just totally cut out.
Yeah, or him Lips praying about how do I deal with fucking Henry Spencer?
Like, what's the point? Like, they talk to a chaplain, but the advice he gives him could have easily have come from a teacher.
Yeah.
Or a sergeant, anybody.
Yeah. It sounds like the past section of this movie, if you saw it in isolation, you might not necessarily even think it's faith-based.
No, it really, because it's just like, it's just stuff you say in the 60s. Like, when you...
Right,
it's people who have a passing belief in God. Like, Easter Christians, we used to call them when I was in the church-going way. When I was forced into being a churchgoer. It's the people who go to Christmas and Easter. Those kind of Christians, It's you
Priester.
you in passing talking about God. Like, that is what this is. It's such a... Now, couple that with the last rant about how these movies are so... disjointed. When you take them apart and present them as 2 different pieces... I'm sorry, I'm like gonna throw up from screaming. When you take...
He's vomiting blood again.
When you take them apart and present them as the 2 different stories that they are, the religion is so heavily weighted onto one side that it's like a wrecking ball of God that it seems so out of nowhere Like, how are you supposed to connect to it? Even as a Christian, how do you connect to this? Like, what is the point?
Yeah.
Then cut out the other story and just have the family dealing with a car crash. Like, that is an okay story on its own.
Right, and then you get a little
weird,
more
generic
into it.
romance, which was this woman's real life, and great. I'm glad she's happy and had a great life, except her husband's dead. I've kind of just negated everything nice I just said, I guess.
That's usually how life ends.
Yeah, but it just doesn't add. It doesn't do anything. There's no point in having these two stories. This movie was hard to watch. It's horribly disjointed. It's brutally sad, and I can't even make fun of some parts of it because it's too real. A lot of the present day stuff hit very close to home, which made me uncomfortable, but that's just me. I can only speak for myself, and only will speak for myself. The romance stuff is nothing special. Henry Spencer is just playing the villainous version of himself. The military parts are built up as being important, but never really matter, despite the fact this movie happens a year before Nam, and never seems to come up for Henry or Lips. Never talk about it. Yeah. And again, Christians in the military, thou shalt not kill, and yet it's always the military. There's something wrong with your religion, guys. Figure this out. Not to discount the life of this woman, Jan Hurst, but this does not make for a good movie watching experience, which is the nicest words I can possibly say about this without actually screaming or vomiting. If you want a sad romance movie, you can do better than this. If the story moves you, read the book, but if you don't watch this junk. If you need a sad romance movie, watch Me Before You. It's great, very sad, compelling, and it stars Emilia Clarke, and I've seen her titties. That's it. I'm done. Fuck it. No more.
Jesus.
No more.
Man, you're hot and bothered.
This was difficult, man. This was like the hardest review I ever had to do.
Damn. I was very surprised by how this turned out. I really, until the last second, I was imagining like
full recovery.
a prayer healing.
Yep. No, it really happened. He really died.
Yeah, that's weird. That's really weird. Well, God.
I am very upset. I'm glad we're not recording another episode tonight.
I think you need a good one-on-one session with Father Jesus.
I'm gonna watch some porn. Not stepdaughter porn. For God's sake.
Stepfather Jesus porn.
It's ruined porn. God.
Can I just leave the sound off?
No. What? Listen, if I am gonna debase myself in front of God, I'm gonna do it right. Why half-ass it? You're gonna go to hell either way.
Find porn in a different language that you don't understand.
I don't need the story. I need the noise. This is not conducive for a good working environment.
Right. No. But you can still hear the noises, but then you won't know the story. It'll just be an old guy fucking a teenage girl.
I'll see it in his eyes that he knows this is done.
Jesus. Stop masturbating to the man's eyes in porno.
We have to stop. Only masturbate to lips. We have to stop. We have to stop. Do this stuff. I need to be done. I need to go cry. And I'm not gonna kill myself. It's just a character joke. I just stop using. I'm sorry.
Be safe, everybody. But we are the Bowels of Netflix. we don't know why we do this to ourselves.
Isaac's got Michael Bay next week, so hopefully that should be a rip-roaring good time.
Yeah, that'll be different from this movie.
He's not going to have an existential crisis about it.
That probably will. It's I don't even want to think about that. But yeah, thank you for listening. We are the Bowels of Netflix. You can find us on the internet, Facebook, Twitter, search Bowels of Netflix. Email us, bowelsofnetflix@gmail.com. Let us know what you think of this rip-roaring adventure.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything.
What's the sunrise? Does it ever come up?
No.
Is there a sunrise?
Not really.
What the fuck?
I think maybe the one daughter says a line that's like, she might say that before he dies. Yeah, at that point. But I think, I kind of remember one of them saying sunrise, but at that point I was like, I needed to stop writing words on the screen. I needed to stop because it was getting to be too much.
Oh, Jesus. Lord Almighty. Father Jesus, help us please. But yeah, stay tuned. We will be back next week. We're covering 6 Underground. Oh, God. That's an awful title. It's a Michael Bay movie starring Ryan Reynolds, who I like, but I'm not gonna like him in this. I can tell already. Oh, I don't wanna do it.
I would trade. If I could go back in time and trade in a heartbeat, I would do it so fast.
You picked faith-based. You could have had another horror movie.
I did. You would have given it to me the week after anyway, you flying second.
Yeah, you're still getting the horror movie.
I know I'm going to get the horror movie. God damn it. At least that won't give me an existential dread, probably.
How do you feel about teenage girls?
Now? Not so great, man.
Oh, God. We are the Bells of Netflix. We love you so much. We will see you next week.
Smell you later, I guess. I don't even know anymore.